The District of Columbia's Mayor Office of Veteran Affairs presents the State of Women Veterans. Women veterans are the fastest growing population in the veteran community in the District of Columbia. Tune in to learn how the District of Columbia is supporting women veterans. The Department of Veteran Affairs reports that there are 2,035,213 women who have honorably served this country. According to the District of Columbia's Mayor's Office of Veteran Affairs, there are over 4,000 women veterans residing in the District of Columbia. Women veterans are the fastest growing veteran population in the District of Columbia, and I happen to be one of them. My name is Tamara Stallings, and I'm a proud Navy veteran and the moderator for today's much needed conversation, the State of Women Veterans. We have several panel experts with us today, including agency officials, political leaders, and entrepreneurs. Let's meet some of them now. Our first set of distinguished panelists are representatives of the Veteran Affairs respective agencies. We have Barbara Ward, the Director of the Center for Minority Veterans for the Department of Veteran Affairs. She serves as a principal advisor to the Secretary on the adoption and implementation of policies and programs affecting veterans who are minorities. She is also a veteran. Anna Crenshaw is the Assistant Director of Special Emphasis and Outreach with the Benefits Assistance Services at the Department of Veteran Affairs. She is also a veteran. Maggie Charnogorski. She is a Deputy Director for Comprehensive Women's Health for the VA and a board-certified physician at the VA Medical Center. Dr. Betty Mosley Brown, the Acting Director of the Center for Women Veterans. She serves as the primary advisor to the Secretary of Veteran Affairs on programs and issues related to women veterans. She is also a veteran, serving in the United States Marine Corps. And Joy White, who is the Deputy District Veterans Experience Officer for the North Atlantic District, a registered nurse, and is a part of VA's My VA Task Force, commissioned to transform the culture of the VA by helping build trusted, lifelong relationships with veterans and their families. Welcome to all of you, and for those of you who have served this great country, thank you for your service. What I'd like to do today is educate the audience on the many services and resources that your respective agency provides. Barbara, I'd like to start with you. Barbara, what is the mission of the Center for Minority Veterans?
Well, the Center for Minority Veterans was established by public law in 1994 for the purpose of serving in an advisory capacity to the Secretary of Veterans Affairs and also to do outreach activities to increase and educate our minority veterans throughout the nation about their benefits so that we could see an increased utilization of VA services and benefits.
Okay, so how does the Center for Minority Veterans conduct targeted outreach to minority women's veterans?
We conduct targeted outreach to minority women veterans through several means, one of which is through my office staff. We have staff liaisons who are veterans themselves, and they basically represent the minority groups that we serve. So we have a Native American female veteran who serves our Native American, Alaska Native veterans. We have an African American female veteran for our African American minority veterans. One of our employees serves our Hispanic veteran population. And then our last employee is actually staff liaison to our Asian American Pacific Islander veteran population. Our extensive arm, though, is actually conducted by full-time VA employees that are assigned to the Veterans Health Administration, the National Cemetery Administration, and the Veterans Benefits Administration. So they are sort of our boots on the ground throughout the nation, and they do a variety of activities throughout the month on an ongoing basis. So for instance, they might participate in job fairs, they participate in town hall meetings, with their whole focus being on reaching out to minority veterans in the communities where they reside. So that includes our rural veterans as well.
Maggie, what kind of health care services does the VA provide for women?
Sure. Thank you, Tamara. So the VA actually provides what we call comprehensive health to women veterans, which encompasses everything from primary care to reproductive health to mental health to transgender care to long-term care and even specialty care. Primary care is actually provided by designated women's health providers. Designated women's health providers are well-trained VA physicians who have gone through our boot camp and are very well versed not only in all the women's health issues, but women's health issues for women veterans. So we train them about musculoskeletal injuries after combat exposures, urinogenital injuries, mental health issues in women coming back from serving in our military. We also provide reproductive health services across the age span. So we do everything from birth control counseling to pap smears to mammograms to menopause counseling. So we do provide this comprehensive care. OB care is currently not provided at most of the VA facilities, but what we do is VA pays for the OB care in the community, and we have a maternity care coordinator that works with our women veterans to make sure that their care inside and outside the VA is well coordinated. We're really proud of the health care that women receive in the VA. If you look at things like breast cancer screening or cervical cancer screening compared to the private sector, the VA does just as good, if not better, at most of the facilities. When we look at gender disparities, our women veterans are getting equal care to our male veterans when it comes to things like vaccination rates and cholesterol screening. So coming to the VA, you know you will get high quality, comprehensive women's health care.
I'm so glad that you mentioned that because I can recall a time when I got out of the military. In my opinion, at the time, that was many moons ago, but I didn't really feel like the VA really catered to women. But it sounds like we're making leaps and bounds, which is great because statistics are telling us that more and more women veterans are walking through the VA hospital doors and clinics. So I'd love to know how the VA's culture changing to how the VA's culture is changing to better meet the needs of women veterans.
Oh, absolutely, and thank you for your service, Tamara.
Thank you.
Yes, the face of the veteran is changing. The women walking through the halls of the hospital are no longer just the spouses or the daughters or the sisters. They are the veterans themselves. As you said earlier, we have about 2 million women veterans living in this country. About 440,000 are using VA services across the country, 4,000 in the DC area. We are definitely promoting women as an important part of the veteran family. There are a number of campaigns that are throughout the hospitals every month about women's health issues. We have PSAs, which are public service announcements, kind of chronicling and the women's veteran service that play on a loop through the in the screens on the lobby. We have, in new employee orientation, everybody is trained on women veterans issues to make sure that every employee is aware of the importance of women veterans in our facility. But I always like to say the proof is in the pudding, or actually the proof is in the facility. If you go to the DC VA up here on North Capitol Street, what you'll see when you walk in is a beautiful new clinic for women veterans. It is so beautiful, it's inviting, spacious, it's stocked with the latest equipment. We even have our own mammography suite so that women veterans don't have to sit with the other veterans in the radiology area. Rather, they can sit in the women's health clinic and get their mammograms with privacy and dignity that they do deserve. The leadership at the DCVA has invested in our women veterans because they are important to VA.
Sure.
And I think that's changing the culture.
I would agree. I actually recently went to an open house, and I know exactly what you're talking about. I went to an open house at that facility and was pleasantly surprised. So, way to go. Thank you. Dr. Mosley, so can you tell me how the Center for Women Veterans came to be?
Absolutely. We were actually congressionally mandated with the Center for Minority Veterans. And so back in 1994, it actually took a congressional mandate to make our center what it is. And we look across VA at healthcare benefits and in the cemetery and our staff offices. We want to make sure that VA fills those gaps that women veterans are aware of and tell us about. One of the ways that we're doing that is we're trying to make sure that women veterans self-identify, because look at all the roles that we have. We are wives, mothers, grandmothers, sisters, and by the time we get to probably middle age, which maybe not all of you are middle age, but then we figure, what can I get from VA? What are my benefits and services? So we're noticing that women veterans between the age of 45 to 65 are actually coming to VA because life finally gets to slow down for them. So last year, one way that we went out into the community to make sure women veterans knew about their benefits and services was with the Women Veterans Campaign. And we actually talked to over 1,400 women and brought in local vendors so that they could hear what big VA's doing, what their local VA's doing, and what exhibitors were doing. So we have something fun that we're doing this year. So that women veterans will identify that they are one, we have the I'm One campaign. And all my fellow colleagues here are part of the Women Veterans Program, and this was a joint initiative so that women veterans could hit hashtag Women Vets with this poster so that we can see what women veterans look like. So Tamara, you're going to be our first hashtag Women Vets.
Yay!
Tweet it up
Love
and
it.
let
Love it.
people know what the face of a woman veteran looks like.
I love it. Thank you for that. Joy, so talk to me about My VA. What is it? How does the work of your office impact women veterans? I'd love to know that.
Tamara, I also want to thank you for your service, and to the panelists, thank you all for your service as well. So My VA is what we are calling the transformation from VA's way of doing business, the old way, to moving toward a business model where veterans own their care. So they determine, specifically our women veterans, how, when, and where they receive their care. So in order to accomplish this, we've tackled or looked at so many different avenues. How do we do this? We're one of the largest agencies on the planet and the largest in the country. So how do you do that with the number of veterans that we serve, and specifically our women veterans? We want to start with empowering our employees, eliminating processes that impede us from delivering on excellent service. You know, there are legislative things in place that stop us from doing the work that we'd like to do. There are individual policies that we place on ourselves that no longer make sense in the current culture that we live. And then we're rethinking our internal structure, how we do business.
Sure.
You know, are we truly women-focused and veteran-focused? And if we're not, if our decisions aren't based on being women-focused or veteran-focused, we need to do something different. So I am with the Office of Veterans Experience, which falls under My VA. So when I talked about rethinking our internal processes, my office is actually looking at how do we get to changing the environment and the culture. And so to best illustrate that, I'm going to tell you a story about a veteran named Jackie. Jackie served in the United States Air Force for 29 years, and shortly after she departed, she made her VA appointment. So there was already some anxiety about coming to the VA, and she pulled into the parking lot and just about cut somebody off to get the last space in the VA parking lot. So apprehensively, she walks into the building, and it reminds her of Grand Central Station. There's noise, there are people everywhere. It is a scary environment. And one thing she noticed, and this was in 2004, that she was the only female in the medical center at that time. She walked up to the counter, and the medical support assistant greeted her warmly as a new veteran and acknowledged her for her service as a female veteran. And it was from that point that Jackie knew this was the place that she would stay for her care. Her provider interaction was spectacular. She began to relate to the community that she was in and the other veterans around her. And Jackie volunteers now 2 days a week at that same VA. So I want to point out, customer service was the interaction that she had with that clerk at that point in time. Veteran experience for her started in the parking lot.
Absolutely.
And so it was the end-to-end experience that she had at the medical center that we could improve upon. There are pieces of that we can do better. So I can have a great interaction with my provider, but if parking was horrible and pharmacy didn't get it quite right, my experience overall wasn't a good one. So the Office of Veteran Experience is focused on looking at that end-to-end service to veterans, making it easy and effective and evoking a very, very positive emotion. So as you've heard from some of the panelists already, what we're doing in the VA to transform the culture and it really improve the veterans' experience is huge. We have dedicated veteran program managers in every facility. We have full service and comprehensive state-of-the-art services available. And in Salt Lake City, Utah, we actually deliver babies on purpose. So we are committed to women veterans, and we want to tell women veterans everywhere that you are visible to the VA. We see you, we care about you, and keep coming.
That's a great message. I applaud you. Thank you for that. Thank you all. Anna, I want to put the spotlight on you for a moment, and I'd love for you to talk about some of the highlights of some of the programs within your respective agency.
Well, what I'd like to talk about is that I thank all of you guys for your service, or women for your service, and I work with all of the ladies up here. And so my program is overarching, is overreaching. I have the assistant director for outreach. And so in my outreach efforts, I go out to empower, inform, and educate women about all the services and benefits that's available to them through all the panelists that you see here. I work closely with Ms. Ward with the Center for Minority Veterans. So I have, VBA has minority coordinators, as she stated, in the field, and we conduct targeted outreach to women minority veterans. I work with the Office of Rural Health. We have rural coordinators, and we conduct outreach to rural. I work very, very closely with Dr. Betty Mosley and all of our outreach efforts. I work with the Veterans Experience Office to develop new processes and procedures so that we can target women veteran. And so in every outreach effort that you can think of, from minority, elderly, homeless, we have those programs and we conduct targeted outreach to them. I would like to emphasize that we have a women veteran coordinator in all of our 58 regional offices. We also have MST coordinators, male and female, so that we can offer services to those women veterans or male veterans that choose that service. Specifically, we really talk to women veterans about especially monthly compensation when they have lost a creative organ or some other organ that's specific for women veterans. But our focus is on targeted outreach to women veterans to empower, educate, and inform them about the services that they are available to. And we also connect them to community resources, nonprofit organizations as well.
Thank you. So, Dr. Mosley, I have a question for you. Do you find that women veterans are actually taking advantage of the services that are being offered?
I think the term of build it and they will come is it. And in some cases, they're coming faster than we can build it. So yes, women veterans, you know how women are. We are very inquisitive and we will find out what we're eligible for, and they are coming to VA. So I'm happy to know, if you just watch television, you may think it's just our younger women that come in, but our middle-aged and our older women are coming. They're finding that even as you grow older, there are wonderful benefits, long-term care benefits that VA can offer. So I think across the spectrum, women veterans are finding out about their benefits and they're using them. So we will continue to build it and build it better so that more can come.
Fantastic. So one final question, and it is around if a woman veteran is interested in getting enrolled in VA healthcare or has questions about your agency resources within 1 minute or less, what kind of healthcare services are available to her, or where does she start, or what does she do? What should she do? Dr. Maggie?
Yeah, so I'd like to answer that question because I really hope that you can walk away from today remembering one thing, which is our 855 VA Women, our Women Veteran Call Center number, because that is a one-stop shop where all your questions can be answered as a woman veteran. So once again, that's 1-855 VA Women, 1-855-829-6636. And what that is a call center that is staffed by women. So any woman veteran that calls will have a woman who picks up the phone, who's very well versed in healthcare and benefits and eligibility. She has contact with the 153 women veteran program managers that are stationed at all the 153 hospitals. She can either answer your question or she can do a warm handoff to somebody who can. We do follow-up calls 30 days later to make sure that your questions have been answered and your follow-up questions have been answered. So I hope that if you have any questions, you can go to the call center and we can help you.
Perfect. Thank you. So I would like to thank our panel for the wealth of information and candid discussion today. After the break, we will be back to talk about business and employment opportunities for women's veterans. We're back, and we are discussing the state of women veterans. In this segment, Boots to Business, I'd like for you to meet U.S. Marine Corps veteran Lisa Ford. Lisa serves as a Women Veterans Program Manager at Helmets to Hard Hats. H2H is what we call it, is a national nonprofit that assists transitioning military service members into careers in construction. Chanel Bankston Carter is the Director of Strategic Outreach and Communications for the Department of Veteran Affairs, Office of Small and Disadvantaged Business Utilization. In her role, she promotes engagement, awareness, and opportunities to small business interested in doing business with VA, other federal agencies, and commercial partners. Chanel is also an Army veteran. And then Dr. Nancy Glowacki is the Women's Veterans Program Manager with the U.S. Department of Labor Veterans Employment and Training Service. She is responsible for monitoring the overlapping considerations of working veterans and working women to ensure that the Department of Labor Employment Services are meeting the needs of women veterans. Nancy is also a veteran of the U.S. Army. Harvetta Spann is the co-founder of WAVE, Women as Veteran Entrepreneurs, a former U.S. Army Field Grade Logistics and Operation Officer with an extensive background in program and project management and women veteran advocacy. Sonia Harris is a veteran employment specialist for the Department of Veteran Affairs. She assists veterans with preparing job applications to apply for employment within the VA. She also educates VA leaders and hiring managers throughout the NCR on the benefits and processes of hiring veterans. Sonia is an Air Force veteran. So I'd like to kick this conversation off with Dr. Glowacki. The Department of Labor is known for setting the standards on labor and relations initiatives, right? So how does the Department of Labor, I have a lot of questions for you, by the way, how does the Department of Labor support women veterans?
Thank you so much for asking. What I think a lot of people overlook sometimes is that the Department of Labor has actually always supported women veterans. We support all American job seekers, and there are services available nationwide where veterans get priority of service. Now, I do want to highlight two agencies in particular that I feel are critical to the long-term economic security for women veterans. Those include Veterans Employment and Training Service, known as VETS, which is the agency that I work for. And the second is our Women's Bureau, which is an agency that we have a very close collaborative relationship with. Now, Women's Bureau works to inform policies on behalf of all working women. So when you hear movement towards getting rid of wage gap, things like that that affect all of us so deeply, look towards agencies like Women's Bureau and thank them for their services. Veterans Employment and Training Service serves all veterans. Now, some people may be aware of our services on the military bases where we provide the employment workshop. And I'm very happy to say that now we also have a webinar-based employment workshop because although it did become mandatory a few years ago, which increases the number of newly transitioning service members receiving the class, it was not always that way. So for women who missed the training or just need a refresher, I would encourage you to visit the online version, which you can see on the dol.gov/vets website. Click on transitioning service members. We also provide more intensive case management services at most of those 2,500 American Job Centers I mentioned. And those more intensive case management services are critical to veterans of both genders who may be experiencing significant barriers to employment. Perhaps it's homelessness, perhaps it's disabilities, and it could be a few other things as well, but those services are critical. We also protect the employment rights of veterans through investigating claims of employer discrimination.
Thank you. So I'd also like for you to speak a little bit about women veteran finding employment in a local setting.
I am so glad you asked that. In my role here, we just passed our about 2.5-year mark with the Women Veteran Program. And the biggest issue I've found to date is a lack of awareness of the services available to women. And we do know now that women veterans who utilize these services actually experience higher entered employment rates and less of a wage gap than non-veteran women who use comparable services. So please, everybody take out your pen here. It is super, super simple. Servicelocator.org. Type in that zip code, go to that website, servicelocator.org. Type in your zip code. That's going to pull up a list of American Job Centers near you. Once you're there, you can click on any of those American Job Centers that pop up to see a full page of details for that center, which will include the contact information for the veterans representative. Please tell them that you are a veteran, because veterans receive priority of service, which means you get seen first. And so I think that is very, very important. Also, please tell them as much as you're willing to talk about your personal situation, because that's going to enable them to best help you. And they can also make referrals to other programs, such as some of our partners, such as the VA, to make sure that it's one-stop shopping once you get there, and we can really help you with employment. So again, servicelocator.org. Type in your zip code.
Sounds good. Thank you. Trends. Let's talk trends for a second. So I would love to know, I've spent about 20 years or so in the career development field, and things have changed significantly. What are some trends that you're seeing pertaining to women's veterans that you want to speak about as it relates to employment?
Sure. So I do spend quite a bit of time looking at unemployment data, and I can tell you that for 3 years straight now, the unemployment rates between women veterans and women non-veterans has not been statistically different, which is very good news. And in some subsets, in particular African American veterans, we do see, or African American women, we do see that women veterans actually have lower unemployment rates than women non-veterans. So it would indicate that there really are some benefits in long-term careers from what we learn in the military and the skills we develop. Now, I will say that once employed, women do quite well. However, they still have those same transition challenges that men have. So getting past that hump can be incredibly difficult. And on top of those veteran-related challenges, we are absolutely as vulnerable to all of the challenges that all working women face. Wage gap is a very real thing. We need paid sick leave. We may need flexible hours depending on our individual circumstances. Women are more likely than men to experience poverty, to be concentrated in low-wage occupations, to earn the minimum wage. And that does not discriminate between veteran or non-veteran. So I do recommend, and I ask that everybody, whether you are a veteran or not, whether you're a woman or not, please familiarize yourself with that simple thing I just said, servicelocator.org, because it may be a complementary service provider, maybe a physician, it could be a friend and neighbor, who is the first to learn that she's struggling with employment. And because we know once employed women veterans do quite well, let's help us to get past that hump by connecting her to the proper services.
Thank you. And speaking of trends, I would say another growing trend is entrepreneurship and women. And so, Harvetta, I would love for you to talk about WAVE and also how WAVE is supporting this growing trend of women being entrepreneurs.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you. And thank you for the opportunity to be here. What we do at the WAVE is that we create a forum to help our veteran women business owners promote success through connecting them with prime contractors to discuss the opportunity to team or subcontract with them, or perhaps even create a mentor-protege relationship. We also provide information detailing success strategies on how to do business with the government. So we invite in the government agencies along with the prime contractors. And when I say prime contractors, I'm talking about the Lockheed Martins, the CSCs, the Booz Allen Hamiltons. Again, those companies that are looking for the opportunity to do business with us, women veteran business owners. And again, we also bring in the government agencies, because these are the people that we're looking to do business with ourselves. And we ask them to share with the business owners what exactly it is that they're looking for in a small business. And we also, again, create the opportunity to network with each other and perhaps establish teaming opportunities. And last, and certainly not least, we create a sense of civic responsibility by giving back to our women veterans community. And we make it a point to make a donation to the Women's Memorial Foundation at every one of our events. And speaking of our events, we have 4 a year.
Okay.
We jumpstart the year off in January with a policy update breakfast, which is very similar to this environment. As a matter of fact, our Oprah in January is sitting right beside us, Ms. Chanel Bankston Carter. But we invite agency representatives to come in and speak to our business owners about just New Year initiatives and trends that they have going on. And this helps jumpstart the small business owner again, to get their year jumped off successfully. And then in March, we have our annual seminar, which is coming up on March 16th at the Women's Memorial from 8:30 to 4:30. And that's where we bring in speakers, panels, and we have exhibitors. Right now we have over 35 government agencies, prime contractors, and small businesses that are scheduled to be a part of our WAVE seminar. And then in the summer, we normally partner with a WAVE partner. This summer, we're actually partnering with the Department of Housing and Urban Development, their Veterans Affinity Group, and we're going to have a small business information seminar. And then that's actually June 16th, so if you want to save the date. And then we end the year with a holiday mixer, which is a very informal networking event. Again, but our goal is to connect the veteran woman-owned small business with that prime contractor that they're trying to subcontract with, or that government agency that they're trying to get a business procurement opportunity with.
So will you help a woman veteran actually set up a business also, or do they already have to come to the table with the business already created?
Well, the majority of them come to the table with a business created. Again, they're looking to find ways to do business with the government. However, there are resources that are available at our events that can help them if they are interested in starting the business. SBA plays a major role in at all WAVE events.
Okay. Thank you. So Chanel, I have a question for you. As a woman veteran-owned small business, how do you find available opportunities within the VA?
Our focus is on helping veteran-owned small businesses have procurement opportunities within the Department of Veteran Affairs. How it pertains to women veteran is that currently we have approximately 7,500 plus veteran-owned small businesses that are verified at the Department of Veteran Affairs. A caveat is that we are the only federal agency that currently does verification. Everyone else self-certifies that they're a veteran. We are the ones that make sure the I's are dotted, the T's are crossed, the ownership, etc., is all legit. With our program, it also affords, under the public law, affords us to have a Vet First program. We're Vet First, but we're not vet only. But with the Vet First program comes opportunities for set-asides, sole sourcing, etc. And of our 7,500 plus veteran-owned small businesses, we have less than 1,000 veterans that are verified. Wow. So there are opportunities at the Department of Veteran Affairs, but the problem that we run into is finding the veteran-owned small business or women that are competitively at a place that they can do business with VA. Also, given the opportunities that are available to them through our Vet First program, we want to encourage more women to go through the verification program so that they can have these opportunities. So are there opportunities available? Yes. Do we need to do a better job as a whole in promoting and encouraging women veterans? Yes, we do. But we are doing some amazing things to help women veterans get those opportunities at the Department of Veteran Affairs. That's everything from our VA, from our forecasting opportunities to working with our boots on the ground, our small business liaisons, and various events that we have, direct access events, national veterans engagement, and other things that we have to help small business owners, and that is very available for women veterans.
Thank you. So you're saying a lot of very positive things. How would our audience or a woman veteran find out more information about all the programs that you mentioned?
I encourage, we do a lot of outreach activities, but I do encourage, please take note of this website, www.va.gov/OSDBU, OSDBU. If you go to that website, you will find a wealth of information. We cover everything from how to start your business, how to grow your business, knowing about finances. We talk about opportunities as it pertains to being procurement ready, how to do business with VA. Because it's one thing to be verified, it's one thing to do business with other federal agencies or commercial partners, but what is the VA looking for? What do we need? What do we want? So we advertise, we market, we partner with WAVE, we partner with other organizations out there, Department of Labor, etc. The panel that was before, we are all partners working together, trying to get the word out, and that's one of the venues that we use to connect with women veterans.
Great, thank you for
Thank
that.
you.
I want to talk to Sonia for a moment. You know, veterans in general, but I would especially say women veterans are, face many barriers. We've talked about many of them today to employment and once they separate or retire. I'd like to know from you, what specifically can women veterans do to overcome some of these barriers?
Sure. The Department of Labor, they have statistics that show that women in general have a hard time with employment, and that includes women veterans. However, women veterans fare better in the federal government, and so the Department of Veteran Affairs, along with other agencies, we have veteran employment program offices, and those offices are set up specifically to do outreach to the veteran community, especially women, to not only help them with their resumes, but also to help them learn how to apply for federal employment. And I think that's one of the most important things, is not only knowing what jobs are available, but how do I apply? What does my resume need to look like? How do I set up this website, or how do I set up USA Jobs? And so our website, which is VA for Vets, we have veteran employment specialists nationwide that have hands-on communication with veterans. We help them with their resume. We help them, like I said, navigate USA Jobs and ensure that they have job announcements, or make sure job announcements are available to them that they may not know about. We also advocate for individuals, especially women veterans, if they're having issues with their job seeking.
Okay. I think you raised some really great points. I know when I got out of the military, I really kind of felt like I was a little fish in a big pond, and I was trying to figure out, like, what am I supposed to do? You know, am I going home? Am I going to be a pilot like I always dreamed? Like, what am I doing? And so I felt, I guess looking back, I wish I had known about some of the services that you mentioned. But I would like to help the women veterans who are in our audience and the ones who will see this program by, let's talk about maybe, you know, like the 3 most important actions a woman veteran can take to ensure that she is gainfully employed in a timely manner.
Yeah. I think it's amazing that you mentioned when you got out that you were like a fish in a huge pond. We all experience that. And so when I talk to women veterans and veterans in general, I tell them, make sure it's okay that you feel the way you do. We all experience that. But the first thing that our women veterans should do is do a self-assessment. Ask yourself, what do I want to do? What am I interested in? And where do I want to live? I think that's important because I talk to a lot of people, a lot of veterans, and they say, well, if the job is offered, I'm willing to go anywhere. And I explain to them, this isn't like the military. We have to take ownership of what we want to do now. That's important. And then that will help focus their job search at that moment. The second thing is a competitive resume. So we all talk about resumes all day long. I hear you can't talk about job searches without mentioning a resume. However, it has to be competitive. We're competing. That's something that I try to instill in all women veterans. We're competing. So now we have to not just have a great resume, we have to have a competitive resume. And there's tons of resources on how to complete a competitive resume. Our office, the Veteran Employment Service Office, we have veteran employment specialists, like I mentioned before, nationwide that will sit down one-on-one with individuals to show them how to create a federal resume. The third thing, the third most important thing I believe is networking. So in the military, especially for those of us that are in and we retire, we're in for 20, 25 years, we don't get the chance to network like our private sector counterparts, I don't believe. And I think it's underrated how important networking is. And I explain to people and tell them, I stress, if you are actively looking for employment, everyone in your network should know that. Your family members, people you worked with or have worked with, and your friends. I think it's imperative that we learn how to network and understand the importance of networking. And so just to summarize, do self-assessments, try to do whatever you can to have the most competitive resume possible, and network.
Absolutely. Sonia, I see you nodding your head. Would you agree with that, those 3 key things?
Yes, I agree.
Good. Would you like to add anything to that?
No.
Okay. So I want to talk to Lisa for a moment because I think that Helmets to Hard Hats is doing some very unique things. That you are a national nonprofit and you really cater to the construction industry. And so I would love to know, like, why should women veterans consider a career in the construction industry?
Thank you for having me on that question. But keeping in the vein of the self-assessment, once a woman veteran understands that she has already chosen a non-traditional occupation by joining the military, then it helps her better understand the dynamic between the compatibility fit of working in a military environment versus that of a construction job site dynamic. The Helmets to Hard Hats program is the national program that was created by North America's building trades unions. And for women veterans, there are opportunities there in career and labor careers in construction. On the labor side, they are afforded the opportunity to be a part of apprenticeship on-the-job training programs. These apprenticeship on-the-job training programs, they are provided through North America's Building Trades Unions, and they are of no out-of-pocket expense. This will allow for her to be placed on the job, earning a wage, while she is actively enrolled into an apprenticeship training program where she learns the skills that she is applying on the job site. As I mentioned, they are federally recognized. So should she choose to utilize her GI Bill education option, then that would represent a secondary income to complement her already middle-class income that she's currently earning.
So how does she find out more about your program?
She would log on to our website, helmetstohardhats.org, and create an account. And once she's done that, then I would recommend that she speak with one of our representatives by calling 866-741-6210, where any of our representatives will be happy to assist in providing information about the career opportunities that are available throughout the country.
Thank you. We will be right back to continue the discussion about the state of women veterans. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Today we're talking about the state of women veterans. In this segment, we will highlight the expert and activists who are carrying the political torch. In many cases, women veterans enter into the political arena to get our voices heard and to impact change. Our panelists today are trailblazers in the political arena and are all women veterans, except one person. Ginger Miller is the president of Women's Veteran Interactive. She is also the 2013 White House Champion of Change for Women's Veterans. Ginger, a former Homeless Service disabled veteran, was inspired to create John 14.2, a nonprofit organization dedicated to assisting military veterans and their families experiencing homelessness, substance abuse, and mental illness. Sharonda Love, a service-connected disabled veteran, was appointed Assistant National Legislative Director of the nearly 1.3 million member Disabled American Veteran on August 12, 2015. Sharonda works to support and advance federal legislative goals and policies of the DAV to assist disabled veterans and their families, and to guard current benefits and services for veterans from legislative erosion. Kimberly Bassett, the Director of the Mayor's Office of Women Policy and Initiatives and Executive Director of the DC Commission on Women, is here with us today. Joanna Garcia, a U.S. Navy veteran. She specialized in one of the toughest fields available, aviation maintenance. Her job was to repair helicopters and F/A-18 Hornet fighter jets. Wow. In 2014, Joanna was appointed by Governor McAuliffe as a citizen member of the Virginia State Board of Nursing, and in 2015, she was appointed to the Board of Veteran Services. Joanna also ran for the Virginia House of Delegates in the 42nd District in 2015. Reverend Dr. Minerva Diaz is a community activist who serves in the Tampa Bay, Florida area. She's the CEO founder of Divine Conservative, LLC, a lobbying business specializing in advocacy for social concerns. A veteran of the U.S. Air Force, she served as a commissioned second lieutenant and conducted joint investigations with other federal and local enforcement. Reverend Dr. Minerva has served as a chaplain in various arenas, including ministering to a few Pentagon survivors in the September 11th attacks. Ginger Miller, I'd love to start with you. Let's tell me about WVI and why you started it.
Well, Women Veterans Interactive is a nonprofit organization that is dedicated to meeting the needs of women veterans. I started Women Veterans Interactive back in 2011, and prior to that, I started my first nonprofit organization, John 14.2 Inc., in 2009. And although John 14.2 Inc. was somewhat successful, I just felt like some type of emptiness on the inside, like I really wasn't hitting the mark. And then I had like one of those moments where I had to face myself in the mirror, and I said, okay, Ginger Miller, what is it that you're not doing? Why do you still feel empty on the inside, although you have done great things with John 14:2 Inc.? And I just looked myself in the mirror, and for the first time in a long time, I had to face myself, and the person I saw in the mirror was Ginger Miller, wife, mother, caregiver, disabled veteran, former homeless veteran, and then the last thing was woman veteran. You know, so it's not like I didn't self-identify, but because I was homeless, because I did struggle in the transition, that was something that I put on the back burner. I mean, even when I was homeless, I was still receiving VA disability in Chapter 35, but it's one of those things where you serve your country, you have a sense of pride, and that sense of pride starts to diminish, and I really couldn't bring myself to tell anyone what I was really going through. So I started Women Veterans Interactive in 2011, and it took off like wildfire because I didn't know that there were so many other women veterans that had the same needs that I did, you know, that wanted to come out and tell someone, you know what, I'm homeless, I'm suffering from PTSD, I don't know where to go and get my benefits. So it kind of exploded. And since inception, we have supported over 1,250 women veterans. The first event that we did back in 2012 was for March in Women's History Month at the National Harbor, and we had 250 women veterans to show up and women in the military. So that just started this whole wave of Women Veterans Interactive. We do everything from workforce development, financial literacy, health and wellness, and then we have Operation Safety Net, which is our homelessness preventive program for women veterans.
Yeah, you are on the move. I've seen you out there moving and shaking, and you've been on the political front in many arenas, and you were the 2013 White House Champion of Change. So what I want to know for sure is, because you've been in the presence of President Obama and other political leaders, you absolutely have the ear of the White House. And I'd love for you to know, I want to know, you know, because you have the ear of the White House and other political leaders, how are women veterans taking the right approach to be heard?
Well, let me just rephrase something. I don't know if I really have the ear of the White House. I mean, I have an email. I don't get answered all the time. You know, I don't get a response all the time. But, you know, I did have the award, Women Veteran Champion for Change, but it was also myself and 13 other women throughout the country that got that prestigious award. But, you know, I think sometimes women veterans, we are not taking the right approach because we are a population that's often, you know, we feel forgotten about. Sure. And we do have issues that we have to deal with. And I think sometimes when you feel that you're under pressure, you want to come out the wrong way. So, you know, I don't think we're going about it the right way. I believe in working hard and digging deep, but not lashing out. We all have a story to tell, but it's how you tell that story that's going to make a difference. You know, I was homeless, but that's not who I am. That's a part of who I was. You know, so at Women Veterans Interactive, we're focused on solutions. Sure. You know, I'm not gonna lash out at the VA because we partner with the VA. Every event we have, we invite the VA there because in 2010 or 2012, the Government Accountability Office came out and said, okay, the VA is having a hard time reaching women veterans. Well, guess what? We're not. We reach them every day, all day. You know, we have members right now in 13 different states. You know, we have 3 chapters. So what we do is we partner with the VA. We don't lash out. We want women veterans to get every service and benefit that they deserve, that they have earned. So you just can't be angry about it. You know, it may take us a little bit longer to have our voices heard in the way that we wanted to, but I think it's worth it in the long run for women veterans to stay positive. You know, you don't always have to jump at every media interview that comes along. You know, and I'm going to be real brief. There was a reporter that called me a couple of years ago, and she wanted to do an interview with a former homeless woman veteran. At that time, I had 3 appointments in the state of Maryland, and I was also the chairwoman of the Prince George's County Commission for Veterans. And the interview went something like this: when you were homeless, a woman veteran, what did you do during your menstrual cycle? Wow. And I immediately told her that this interview was over. Because at some point, you know, you have your dignity and you have your respect. Sure. I'm not going to take down the whole population with me. We're more than that. You know, everybody struggles a little bit. But I think as women veterans, we need to take our pride, take our dignity, and hold on to that. Don't sell yourself short for a story.
That sounds very powerful, and that's why you are who you are. And so, Sharonda, my next question is for you, and not that I'm going in order, but I would love to know about the DAV, and particularly what has the DAV done in an effort to educate lawmakers and the general public about the needs of women veterans?
That's an excellent question. I'm happy to provide an answer for you. DAV has always been at the forefront of women veterans issues. We have many programs that are outlined to inform the public. On our website, there's a plethora of information there that will guide them to not only find out about the issues, but also find out about bills that are supporting women veterans. In 2014, we commissioned a report called The Long Journey Home. This is a report that it identifies 27 key recommendations and across the VA and federal landscape. These recommendations are recommendations that are aimed at filling the gaps that our women veterans are currently experiencing. The report talks about everything from gender-specific care to educational needs, to vocational rehabilitation, to everything from transitioning from the military, all of those services that are vital and necessary for women veterans. It also talks about family life and the role that families play in the life of a women veteran.
Okay, thank you. And Joanna, I know that you are knee-deep in the political arena. All of you women are. And so if you could tell us how you made the transition from being a service member to becoming a leader in the political arena. I believe as a woman veteran, you know, there may be someone who wants to step into the political arena. So how did you do that?
Sure, Tamara, thank you. I started off retiring, and I had 2 little kids. They were 3 and 5 at the time, and decided I was going to stay home with them. As I started to transition them into school, into kindergarten, I found out that the school they were going to did not have full-day kindergarten in Fairfax County, Virginia. And so I just started advocating, talking with other parents and finding out, what do you think about this? Eventually, over a couple of years and a lot of effort by a lot of parents, talking with the school board and advocating for full-day kindergarten, we got full-day kindergarten in Fairfax County. To me, that started me off in the political side, because I found out that if you have enough people and something really good to do for the community, you can get stuff done. And that's where I started. And I enjoyed it a lot.
So how can women veterans become involved in politics?
It's hard for veterans because we move so much. And the local political situation is different everywhere you go. But once you start learning, figuring out what party you want to be in, or what your goals are, what your values are, it becomes easier and easier. As you start getting closer to retirement and figuring out where you want to be, where you want to retire, where you want to stay, you start looking into the local party. And that's where I started. I started off with finding out which way I wanted to go, and then looking into the local party and the different committees. There's also a lot of programs that are available to women to become a political person. And programs like Emily's List, Emerge, which is now throughout a lot of states, Sorensen, which is in Virginia. So there's several programs that you can go to and apply for and get training on whether you want to be a candidate or just help out on a campaign. And they're very comprehensive, and it gave me the power when I went to Emerge. I was in the inaugural class. It gave me that power to say, you know what, I do want to do this. And it turned out to be a lot of fun, and I enjoy being with people, and that's what politicians do.
Absolutely. And this is the one area where you can really impact change in the political arena.
Yes.
It's a lot of work, a lot of hours, but this is absolutely the grunt work and where we need a lot of soldiers, for lack of a better word.
We need a lot of voices, and we are not afraid of work.
Right.
Military veterans are not afraid of work, and we have put a lot of hours into our careers, and it is just a transition. You just move from one to the next.
Agreed. Reverend Dr. Diaz, I would love to know about your experience as a politician and in dealing with opportunities for women's veterans.
My experience in political life comes really, really, really early. My mom used to work in the Bronx in New York as a political activist, and she worked for a federal program feeding children during the summer. Poor children, obviously, during the summer. So at one point, they wanted to film the cameras were coming, the news people were coming, so they gathered all the children of the workers, and they said, well, who wants to speak? And I just said, well, I will. And so that was my first experience advocating for funding for the poor. And then we moved to Puerto Rico, and my relatives were involved in politics and fundraising, so I got helping with that. And then got commissioned in the Air Force and ended up at Peace Air Force Base in New Hampshire, where there was a vice president who would go up to Maine quite a bit and needed protective service operations and other political assistance. And finally, when I moved and settled in Tampa Bay in Florida, I started to help the local politicians with gathering signatures and providing support. And so I got involved in their campaigns, and I felt myself going deeper and deeper and deeper into politics. But it also converged with me helping. I had a small practice under the pastoral care and counseling practice under the umbrella of a local church. And one particular day, a female homeless veteran came to me, a Marine, and she just had a baby. And she was homeless and she was going to jail. And the reason why she was going to jail was because she had an episode and she exploded on the boyfriend, and he called the cops. And in that particular county, somebody goes to jail. So they hold her to jail. And she came to me, she says, they're coming for me tomorrow. They're gonna take my baby. I don't know what's gonna happen. Wow. So I immediately wrote up her case, and I was on my way here to Washington because I was taking classes here. And I went and visited my congressman, and I said, this is what's going on in Pasco County. This cannot happen. You have to intervene and go rescue this female soldier out of jail. And that led me to becoming a chaplain with the Sheriff's Department. And that led to another project, because I needed a project for the doctorate, which was Keeping the Mentally Ill Out of Jail Rehabilitation Initiative, which I held the chair for 2 years. So it's all these things coming together that led the path to creating Divine Conservative, which is my lobbying and consulting business.
Gotcha. Wow. So, Kim, you have the ear of the mayor. You've heard all of these wonderful things that these ladies are doing on a political front. Can you speak to the mayor's initiative around creating a pathway to the middle class? How can women's veterans support the mayor's priorities?
Well, I'm really fortunate to work for the second woman mayor that DC's ever had. She's really amazing, and she's really into leadership. And we are so fortunate to have someone who runs our Office on Veterans Affairs who has been a really big leader and friend of mine. And I'm not a veteran, but I'm so proud to be up here with these women and to hear your stories. It's just inspiring. But there is so much to do. The mayor's very concerned about creating a pathway to the middle class. In our office on women's policy, we've been doing quite a few programs, and we love your support. all the veterans and retired veterans, women's veterans. We have a program called Women on the Rise. We meet at a place east of the river in Ward 8 called the Rise Center. We do it every week. We have workshops for women. They come in on a Wednesday. We feed them. We provide transportation. And we have workshops around parenting, entrepreneurship, all different types of subjects, even branding yourself, how to brand yourself. And that's one way that we feel like we're contributing. We have women that come every week. It's great energy. And we have different speakers from all different agencies around the city, and they come and they speak. We also have commissioners. So the DC Commission on Women is something else that I run. There are 21 women on our commission. I think 2 may be veterans, which is amazing. So there's so many ways that you can get involved by becoming an ANC commissioner, by working as a civic association person, by working in your communities, volunteering on campaigns. You learn a lot doing that as well. We also are really concerned about women's equality and equal pay in our office. So we do quite a few projects around that. We're about to launch an initiative where we're going to be teaching salary negotiation classes around the city, because DC, women are definitely prospering, but women of color don't have the same, we don't have the same opportunities. So we're trying to work with underserved women of color around negotiating their salaries and really fighting for themselves. And hopefully that'll be the same environment that we have in our Fresh Start Wednesdays, our Women on the Rise program. We want to have that same energy, and we'd love for women veterans, because they're natural leaders, to come and maybe train a trainer and become one of the trainers. So there's so many opportunities in the mayor's office to do, to help us. We're also concerned about health. The mayor has a wonderful program called Fit DC, where we do community walks all around in all 8 wards of the city. And that's another way that you can get involved, because you all are definitely fit, most veterans I know, and that's a way to contribute. But I think the best and the most important thing you could do is help us with our young women, our girls in the city. There's so many opportunities to come and to really mentor young women. We have a 500 for 500 mentoring program around empowering males of color. And we would love for you all to get involved in that as well, because the young women that we meet, some are thriving, but there's quite a lot that aren't. And that's where you could come in, because you're leaders, because you've experienced so much, you've traveled all over the world. Your input would be just amazing for the young ladies that we come in contact on a regular basis. There's tons of programs in the city. There's the YWCA, Crittenden Services. I could go on and on. We have lists of partners that we deal with that actually deal directly with girls, and they need you. So I can tell you tons of things that you could be involved in, but I know I have a very short period of time. But definitely call our office. You can get in touch with us. Also, check out dc.gov, and that will direct you to all the agencies in the city. And our agency, again, is the Office on Women's Policies and Initiatives. You can go to our website and get in touch with us, and we'll definitely plug you in.
Thank you, Kim.
Thank you.
I can recall, I think we all can, when we were younger. In fact, I remember my first day of boot camp like it was yesterday. Actually, I turned 18 on that very day. I also remember the day that I got out of the military. It was in 1992. Thinking back, I was uncertain of my future. There was no internet or social media like today's technology affords us. I had to figure it out. Thankfully, figuring things out was a skill that I honed while I was in the military. As women complete their military service and begin their transition home, they embark on a journey that can be scary and difficult. With the help and guidance provided by our guest panelists today, our women veterans can transition confidently and with the assurance that America supports them with quality programs and resources. A very special thanks for all of our guests today to Mayor Bowser and the Director of Veteran Affairs for the District of Columbia, Tammy Lambert. Thank you.